recapping. Is it? Yeah, it is. It was week 4.
Week 4.
Vikings, 28-25 win in Queen Elizabeth's honor. You know, Ethan said early on last week's podcast that they would have won more if she was dead, but the numbers suggest otherwise. Vikings, the first time they went to England, they beat the Steelers 34-27, and then in 2017 when they played the Browns, they won 33-16. This was 28-25. We're not going to hold that too much against them. That was a very early morning for me to wake up to at 7:30 Mountain Time. But Vikings, their red zone offense needs some work. The defense looked really good, forced 3 turnovers, but they were only able to score 1 touchdown out of that. Or they were like 2 for 5 in the red zone. The special teams showed up. They ran a fake punt that extended a drive. Greg Joseph kicks the game-winning field goal.
And five total field goals.
Yeah. And 5 total field goals. Jalen Reagor is looking really good on punt return. Justin Jefferson, beast. That's all you got to say. Adam Thielen is looking to get more involved. Do you see a little bit more of Cook and Madison being more involved in the game? They've looked a little bit to go to the run game more, which we've talked about they need to do. But big concern with the Vikings this game was their lack of pass rush, especially after Zadarius Smith went out. Andy Dalton had all the time in the world to find guys, and that's kind of what kept the Saints in the game. And then what's his name? Will Lutz did his best Cody Parkey. Yeah, Cody Parkey impersonation. It was Cody Parkey, right?
Yeah, the Bears guy. Yeah.
And went double doink. But so obviously we've talked about it. The Vikings, they're 3-1 is 3-1. There were a couple of Vikings fans that I talked to that were not happy about the way they won, but it's hard to win at any level, especially in the NFL. So the Vikings have to be happy. 3-1. They got a bye week this week, just like the Gophers. No?
Nope.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
No, they don't. They play the Bears at home. They didn't want their bye this early, so they chose to play the Bears. And honestly, I think they have one more after that, then the bye.
The Bears, and then at Miami, bye week, Dolphins.
Yep, they didn't want their bye this early. Then the NFL tried to do it, but Logan told me the Vikings said no.
Because Dylan, the Vikings, they didn't want to have to play 4 games and then have to play 13 in a row.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how I missed that too.
Remember a couple of years ago when the Niners went to the Super Bowl in 2019, they started off 3-0. They had a week 4 bye. They then had to play 13 weeks in a row, and that's when
the playoffs.
That was yep. So week 17, that was when they played the Seahawks, and there was that crazy Sunday night finish where they were, the Seahawks were a foot away from winning the West.
Yep.
Well, injuries crept up on the Niners that year because they played 13 games in a row. So they almost lost the division because of that. And I think, Questy was part of the 49ers organization that year.
Yeah.
And at KOC, they probably went to the NFL and said, hey, this is ridiculous. You talk about player safety, but we're going to play 13 games in a row for these guys. It's not fair. At least give us 6 games, and then have the bye. So it was nice for the NFL to do that for them.
Yeah. Well, that baffles me. I don't know how I missed over that, because when I was getting ready, I was looking, and usually the Vikings and Cowboys are at the top of my list for NFL, and I somehow just skipped over it. But
we're playing the Bears, so
Bears.
You probably just looked at it like that.
Same thing. Now that we say that, with the Vikings are going to go laying absolute. Actually, they're just going to shit the bed and
Justin
lose.
Fields.
Justin Fields is going to look like Ohio State Justin Fields.
But
we'll discuss this a little bit later in the show. But a win is a win, and that's especially going overseas, playing in a completely different time zone. You're 6, 7 hours, 8. I don't know. Completely different time zone. I believe they only went over there on Thursday. They didn't go there the whole week, correct?
Correct.
It's either Wednesday or Thursday they flew.
I think they
can't remember which one.
left Minneapolis Thursday afternoon, and then would have got to London like Tuesday morning, or Friday morning.
It's a long flight.
And what's interesting, there's been discussions on how NFL teams do this. Do you get the game plan here in the States and fly over? Do you fly over and spend the whole week in London? And nobody has the answer to that. But the Packers are doing this week what the Vikings did last week. Even Thursday afternoon, getting to London, then fast forward Friday morning.
Okay.
But I think the reason, like I was saying though, the Vikings, I had a couple of Vikings fans frustrated with the way this game played out. I think it was mainly because Kamara was out, Jameis was out, Andrews Pete was out, Michael Thomas was out, and Marcus May was out. They felt like the Vikings should have won by more, but in the end, it's a win.
I mean, Florio kind of said the same thing, PFF or whatever the hell he is on Pro Football Talk.
He's an idiot.
He honestly is. Like, he was on K-Fan. I think he's on Tuesday mornings, maybe or something like that. But he was even saying the Vikings 3-1 record should have an asterisk by it and all this stuff because they barely beat teams. I'm like, since there's never really a time where NFL teams just absolutely annihilate teams that are worse than them.
You can say that. You can say it in college where like Michigan barely beats Army, or Ohio State barely beats FAU, or Nebraska barely beats Florida International or North Dakota. Things like that where the talent gap is so much bigger. The NFL, they're all professionals.
It's not. And it's like, cool. They beat a Lions team that's absolutely might be the most improved team in the freaking league. Like, they are
best offense in the NFL right now.
The NFL.
They're good. And honestly, you can say Dalton started how many seasons in the NFL? He's not going to get blown out. He knows how to keep the score close. He knows how to put drives together. Like, he's been in the league for almost a decade.
Yeah,
these guys are still good.
And the Saints have a really good coaching staff as well.
And they have a great defense. Like, piss off, Florio. Go shove something up the Bears fans' asses. They're the ones that suck in the division. Somehow they're almost 3-1. That's an asterisk if I've ever seen one.
Well, with Florio, it's weird because him and PA, they have some sort of weird rivalry.
Isn't Florio's a Vikings fan too, isn't he?
I don't know. I think he says he is, but he disagrees with PA all the time.
I thought he was a Steelers fan because he lives in West Virginia. Like, I kid you not, say he's from West Virginia. I think he's from West Virginia. And
he is. But I want to say, I thought I remember him saying at some point he was a Vikings fan, but at the end of the day, that guy covers the NFL, but also hates football. So there's that.
Yes. But I was happy with how the Vikings played. I mean, the only thing I want different, they finally got JJ going again, which was nice to see. They needed to get him going. It's been 2 games. He's basically been on freaking life support back there. But they need to get the run game going. Like, there's no explanation for it. 4 games in, Jalen Reagor has your longest run of the year for the Vikings at 17 yards.
That's embarrassing.
The dude's probably on the field for 15, if not less than that, percentage of the snaps each game.
Maybe
we got to get this going.
Maybe 15 offensive snaps all year.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy to me that Dalvin hasn't busted a big one or something, but also you're playing very good defenses so far. Packers, Eagles, and Saints defense. That's probably 3 of the top 10 in the league, so I get it, especially Packers D-line and the Eagles D-line, or not Eagles, Saints D-line. Those are 2 of the best in the league. So, like, I get where they're at, but you need to consistently get the run game going.
And when you're playing the Lions and at one point you're down 14-0 and then you're down 24-14, you're playing catch up. You have no opportunity to establish the.
Yep. Because the their run defense sucks. Like, that's like the one knack on that team right now. But we couldn't exploit it because we were from behind the whole time.
Yeah, and their whole defense is awful. I mean, they have the worst defense in the NFL in terms of points and the best offense. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
they've scored the most points in the NFL, and they're 1-3.
They're on pace up so far this year, boys. 599 points.
Yeah.
which would be the most in NFL history. And I sat back and I thought, well, there's got to be some sort of asterisk next to that because they're playing 17 games. No, the other team, the other worst defense of all time besides them on a 16-game schedule, only gave up 531 points. There's in one game, there's not a 60-point difference. So this Lions defense, which we all said was very suspect coming into the year, they better figure this out. Hard Knocks is over. It's time for these guys to play.
Yeah.
But think of that offense, though. They didn't have Amon St. Brown last week. They didn't have Swift. And Jameson Williams, their first-round pick, who arguably is the most pro-ready wide receiver out of the draft class, hasn't even touched the field yet. Like, that offense with that O-line could be absolutely lethal by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And good for Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say
doing
that.
Great.
Jared Goff redemption story.
He looks better than Matt Stafford right now.
Literally. Stafford looks like shit.
Well, Jared Goff has someone who's protecting him. Matt Stafford's
He has
running for his life. But also, guys, let's put this Lions offense up against the two best defenses in the NFL in 4 weeks, in the Bills and 49ers. I think it would look a little different. I'm not saying it would be a lot better, but the Bills and 49ers are going to do that to teams.
He would not be sacked 7 times. I will give him that. He might not score 30 points, but he wouldn't get sacked 7 times.
Correct.
But so I have an update on the question if Florio is a Vikings fan or not. I'm getting my sources from Reddit, so make of it what you will. But
50-50 shot.
He is a Vikings fan, and one of the reasons why they figured out he is a Vikings fan is he said, once I automatically assume if the Vikings play in Soldier Field, they will lose.
I mean, it's totally fair.
Valid point.
And on Wikipedia, it did say he was a Vikings fan and a former lawyer.
He was a lawyer?
He'd be a
God, I
feel terrible for his clients. Say he never won a case.
He's just raking in money at that point. It's just
like the lawyer who never goes to trial but always strikes a plea deal.
Yeah.
Every NFL player that's gotten in trouble is lawyer of all time. He might be all of them.